If you ever went and a thorn hits you, how much pain that is. They say, no, they hold on to religion as if they're holding on to this thorny plant in the darkness of the night. And then he says, أَوْ كَالْقَابِضْ عَلَى جَمْرِ الْغَدَاءِ. He said, these individuals who come at the end of times, he says they grasp onto burning embers. How difficult it is. But despite the difficulty, they cling on their faith. The believers are so sturdy, are so strong, they don't compromise, they don't retreat, they don't move back. أُولَٰئِكَ مَصَابِيحُ الدُّجَى. He says these are the illuminating beacons surrounded in the midst of darkness. Why? Because they will be immersed in haram. They will be immersed in some of the most polluted society. But because of their iman in their heart, it gives light. It gives light to them, but it also gives light to the other believers. يُنْجِيهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ كُلِّ فِتْنَةٍ غَبْرَاءٍ مُظْلِمَةٍ. He says they are the ones, because of their faith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards them by saving them from every dark and blinding trial. In this tradition, the Prophet, he's talking about the believers. And he's talking about how at the end of times it's going to be so difficult to hold on to their faith. He said if they hold on to their faith, then they will be at the level of his brothers. May Allah make us among the brothers of the Prophet. Let us be able to be steadfast in our religion, where we are honored with the unwan, with the title of being the brother of the Prophet. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In a tradition by our fourth Imam, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he says, "Man thabata ala wilayatina fi ghaibati qa'imina." He says that if a person is able to hold on to the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt during the absence of al-Qa'im, then what happens? He says that أَعْطَى اللَّهُ أَجْرَ أَلْفِ شَهِيدٍ مِثْلَ الشُّهَدَاءِ بَدْرٍ وَأُحُدٍ. He said they will be given so much reward. They will be given the reward of 1,000 shaheed. From which battles? From the battle of Badr, from the battle of Uhud. They will be given that immense of a reward, that living at the end of times, they will be exposed to so much propaganda, so many wrong ideas. They will be exposed to so many different beliefs, so many doubts concerning their history, their beliefs, their identity. But despite all of that propaganda which is coming from them, they don't wither, they don't move back. And so they reach the level of the shuhada, not one shuhada, but 1,000 shuhada from the battle of Badr and Uhud. And so this has a great reward. We are living in times of much difficulty. There's a lot of different philosophies and different ideas coming our way. If we are not grounded in our religion, then we lose out on these great rewards. So what are some of the unique qualities of Akhir al-Zaman? When we look at some of the verses of the Quran and the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt, there are a few qualities we can use to determine what is the Akhir al-Zaman. The first main hallmark and distinct feature of Akhir al-Zaman is that people, in a very large sense, in terms of in society, they will turn away from religion. The Quran says, اِقْتَرَبَ لِلنَّاسِ حِسَابُهُم, that humans' time of accountability has come close. وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مُعْرِضُونَ, and they are in a disregard when it comes to their obliviousness. When it comes to religion, they don't take it seriously. When it comes to their religious responsibility, they don't act upon it. They have an on and off relationship. They're inconsistent. When it comes to the practice of their religion, they don't give the time, they don't give the effort in learning their beliefs, in strengthening their beliefs. They get distracted by different ideas, different philosophies, atheism, materialism, consumerism. They go and they chase one thing after another thing, and what happens to their religious belief? Their religious belief, it weakens. يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٍ, a time will come upon the people that they lose their religion. They're not clinging on to their religion. But what becomes their religion? دِينُهُمْ دَرَاهِمُهُمْ, their religion becomes their wealth. Day in and day out, the only thing they think about is their money, about their dollars and about their cents. وَهَمُّهُمْ بُطُونُهُمْ, and their greatest ambition in their lives is their stomachs and their desires. They want to go and eat the finest meals and the most exquisite dishes, constantly trying to go and stimulate their taste buds. They want the most exotic foods. They travel long distances for trying something new, constantly chasing one flavor after another flavor, one new taste after another taste. وَقِبْلَتُهُمْ نِسَاءُهُمْ, their focus in their lives are who? are women. They're chasing women from one place to another place. وَيَرْكَعُونَ لِلرَّغِيفِ. He says that they're willing to sacrifice their religion for the smallest of things. It says over here, لِلرَّغِيفِ, for a loaf of bread. If someone offers a loaf of bread, they abandon their religion. وَيَسْجُدُونَ لِدِرْهَمٍ. And when it comes to money, they'll bow down, they'll do sajda to whoever. Hayara sukara. In what state are they? They're in a state of confusion. They're in a state of intoxication. Why? Because they're completely immersed and consumed in the world. La muslimina wa la nasara. These individuals, they're neither Muslims nor are they Christian. Because of their actions, because of their behavior, they're not affiliated with any type of religion. Akhir zaman is a time of mass confusion. It's a time of great trials. People's faith will fluctuate extremely fast. One moment they're religious, another moment they're not religious. This hadith from the Prophet, he says, "Satakunu fitan." He says the amount of fitna and calamities and trials that will happen at the end of time. يُصْبِحَ الرَّجُلْ فِيهَا مُؤْمِنًا. A person will get up and walk in the morning, and in his heart he has iman. وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. But by the time the evening comes, by the time night comes, his faith is gone. He goes to bed as a disbeliever. Illa. But there's an exception. Who is the exception? Whose faith is safe from the vicissitudes, from the trials of time? Illa man ahya Allahu ta'ala bil ilm. Except those individuals who spend their time in going and acquiring knowledge, in going and acquiring an education, in being steadfast in knowledge, in reason, in logic. Imam Ali, he describes this time. He says, فَإِنَّ عَلَامَاتُ ذَلِكَ. He says some of the signs of the end times is إِذَا أَمَاتَ النَّاسَ الصَّلَاةِ. A point will come where they go and they slay salat. It's a way of saying they don't give any importance to salat. Salat is something secondary. They don't give that importance. وَأَضَاءُ الْأَمَانَةِ. And if they go and they have an amana, if they have a trust from another person, they don't give importance to it. If someone comes and asks you to hold on to something, to borrow something, someone trusts you with something, someone trusts you with a secret, they don't take care of it. They go and they divulge it. This is the hallmarks. These are some of the distinct features during the Akhir Zaman. And unfortunately, these are things that happen in our society. Not too long ago, a brother called me and asked me to speak to another brother. He had given a certain amount of money as an amana, and he was supposed to pay it back. I went to the brother and I said, you owe him this amount of money. He said, yes, I owe him this amount of money. He said, why didn't you pay him back? He said, he doesn't need the money. He's driving a nice car. His kids are going to private school. I don't need to pay him back. I said, yes, you do. This is a sign at the end of times. When you have an amana from another person, you don't take it seriously. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then he says, وَاسْتَحِلُّ الْكِذِبِ. He says at the end of time, lying is considered to be permitted. Lying becomes so commonplace, it becomes so prevalent that people continuously lie. They lie, they exaggerate, they say things to beautify and to make things bigger than they seem. وَأَكَلُ الرِّبَا. They go and they consume interest. وَأَخَذُ الرِّشَا. They go and they take bribes. وَشَيِّدُ الْبُنْيَانِ. He said at the end of times, the situation will be such that they will be making huge, tall buildings, grand buildings like skyscrapers. وَبَاءُ الدِّينِ بِالدُّنْيَا. And they're willing to sell their religion for worldly gains. وَاسْتَعْمَلُ السُّفَهَاءِ. They go and they appoint the foolish people as their leaders. I won't comment on that, but we know who this hadith is referring to very clearly. And then he continues, وَقَطْعُ الْأَرْحَامِ. He said the situation will become so bad that even the family structure will begin to disintegrate. Children will not speak to their parents. Parents will not speak to their children. Brothers will not speak to their siblings. The entire family structure, the family fabric is being torn apart. وَاتَّبُعُ الْأَهْوَاءِ. And their focus is what? Following their desires and following their whims without any control. وَاسْتَخِفُّ بِالدَّمَاءِ. When they hear about a certain crime or certain massacre which is happening, someone being killed, someone's blood being spilled, they don't pay attention to it. They take it lightly. They say it doesn't have anything to do with me. وَظَهَرَتْ شَهَادَةُ الزُّورِ. People, for the sake of money, for the sake of position, they're willing to go and give false testimonies. وَاسْتُعْمِلَ الْفُجُورِ. Immorality becomes prevalent in society. وَقَوْلُ الْبُهْتَانِ وَالْإِثْمِ وَالطُّغْيَانِ. False accusations, sin, tyranny, they all become commonplace among the people. The Prophet, he says, سَيَأْتِي عَلَى أُمَّتِي زَمَانٌ. A time will come to the people, لَا يَبْقَى مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ إِلَّا رَسْمُهُ. That this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people won't read it. The only thing that will remain from the Quran is its script. They'll decorate their homes, they'll decorate buildings with the script of the Quran. وَلَا مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا إِسْمُهُ. And nothing remains from Islam except the name of it, except the title that I'm a Muslim, this is a Muslim country, this is a Muslim owner. That's it. Nothing remains from the content of Islam. يُسَمُّونَ بِهِ وَهُمْ أَبْعَدُ النَّاسِ مِنْ. He says they go and they say we practice Islam, but they are the farthest people from Islam. Masajiduhum amira. He says when you go at the end of times, you see their masajid huge. The masajid are well constructed. وَهُمْ وَهِيَ خَرَابٌ مِنُ الْهُدَى. But there is no guidance. There's no religious teaching. There's no instruction happening in those masajid. The moral, the spiritual decline will happen so rapidly during the end of times that there will be no religious or spiritual boundaries. One of the things that happens is evil won't be seen as evil. Good won't be seen as good. The Prophet, he says this hadith, and this is a shocking hadith because he says, فَكَيْفَ بِكُمْ. What's going to happen to you? إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الْمَعْرُوفِ مُنْكَرًا. He says one of the things that happens at the end of the time is that conceptually the idea of good and evil, they swap. Those things which are good in society are seen to be bad. And those things that are considered to be bad are now considered to be good. فَكَيْفَ بِكُمْ إِذَا رَأَيْتُ الْمَعْرُوفِ مُنْكَرًا وَالْمُنْكَرَةِ مَعْرُوفًا. Good becomes evil and evil becomes good. We see examples of this in our society, that if a person doesn't go and engage in certain types of immorality, doesn't go and adopt some of the attitudes of society, they're seen as outcasts, they're seen as weirdos, they're seen as people who are not up to date. The mafahim, the concept of good and bad has been flipped. And this hasn't just been misunderstood, but it's been intentionally misconstructed. And we find this. We find virtues, we find good qualities like honesty and integrity, that these are not considered to be the best of qualities. If a person is honest, then they're considered to be a simpleton. They're considered to be a buffoon. They're considered that if you practice honesty, you're not going to get forward in life. You're not going to move forward in life. If you're honest and you have integrity, you're outdated, you're archaic, you're not living up with the times. You have to be dishonest. You have to pad your resume. You have to exaggerate about yourself in order to move forward in society. If you want opportunities, if you want success in life, you have to lie. You have to deceive. That's the only way of getting forward. And we find this, unfortunately, especially in our society, that if a person chooses not to have a haram relationship, instead of thinking of that as something good, they look at that person, maybe there's something wrong with such a person. Are they hormonally messed up? Is there something psychologically wrong with them? This is what the society is doing. So what's happening is the mafahim, the concept of good and evil are changing. They're being swapped. If a person goes and practices modesty, they think, this person is backwards. They're primitive. If a woman wears hijab, so this person is from the old ages, from earlier times. They're not living up to the times that we're supposed to be in. A person who's humble, a person who practices humility, is now considered to be someone who lacks confidence, someone who is not willing to, stand up, someone who's considered to be weak. If a person is humble, they're considered to be someone who lacks self-esteem and lacks self-worth. But a person who's arrogant, such a person is praiseworthy. We want a leader who's arrogant, who's rough, who's rude, who's loud, right? And so what happened? The concepts of right and wrong have reversed and swapped from one another. The sixth Imam, he continues. He says the situation will become so bad. وَرَأَيْتَ الرَّجُلْ إِذَا مَرَّ بِهِ يَوْمٌ وَلَمْ يَكْسِبْ فِيهِ ذَنْبُ الْعَظِيمِ. He said the situation will become so bad that if a man doesn't go and commit one evil deed, min fujur, from an act of immorality, or bakhs mikhyalin or mizan, if he doesn't go and cheat and deceive, or ghashayani haram, or if he doesn't fall into haram, or shurbi muskir, or if he doesn't consume alcohol, ka'iban hazina, what will his state be? If a day passes and he doesn't engage in a haram act, he becomes sorrowful, he becomes distressed. He's disappointed that a day has passed and I haven't done something which is haram. The end of times is like this. Virtues are abandoned and sin is pursued with this intensity, with this eagerness. This is a horrible state. كَيْفَ بِكُمْ إِذَا فَسَدَ نِسَاءُكُمْ. A time will come, and what will you do in that time? When the women, they become corrupt. وَفَسَقَ شُبَّانُكُمْ. The youth, they will no longer be moral. They'll easily engage in immoral behavior. The fabric of society becomes corrupt. It'll deteriorate. There's moral corruption prevalent everywhere. Imam, he says, يَظْهَرْ فِي آخِرِ الزَّمَانِ. At the end of time, what will happen? وَإِقْتِرَابِ السَّاعَةِ. And the hour is near. وَهُوَ شَرُّ الْأَزْمَنَةِ. It is the most evil and the worst of times. He says, نِسْوَةٌ كَاشِفَاتٌ. What will he find? You will find women who are exposing themselves. عَارِيَاتٌ مُتَبَرَّجَاتٌ. They won't practice morality. They won't practice, acceptable behavior. They'll go and they'll expose themselves. They'll practice immodesty. They'll wear promiscuous clothing. دَاخِلَاتْ فِي الْفِتْنِ. They'll be immersed in one fitna after another fitna. مَائِلَاتْ إِلَى الشَّهَوَاتِ. They were constantly going and pursuing their desires. مُسْرِعَاتٌ إِلَى لَذَّاتِ. Constantly and chasing one desire after another desire, having no sense of control. Mustahillat lil muharramat, those things which are considered to be forbidden are now considered to be halal. Fi jahannam khalidat. And what is the result of that? The result is if a person goes and engages in these type of things, then they will be in eternity, for the rest of eternity, in the fire of hell. So brothers and sisters, these times we have to be aware of. These ahadith that are being mentioned, they're not meant to scare us. They're meant to raise our awareness, that we don't go and we don't fall into these traps. Another set of qualities is that at the end of times, what will happen? There will be severe crises and conflicts that are happening around the world. Around the world, there will be major world conflicts. There will be war. There will be a frequency in different wars that are taking place. Blood will be easily shed. Pious people, righteous people, godly people, noble people will be killed, and no one will say anything. The whole world will be quiet. The greatest test for a believer at the end of time is going to be this, that they will be oppressed. They will be treated in an unjust manner because of their beliefs. The hadith from the Prophet says that at the end of time, there will be 4 fitan. لَتَأْتِيَنَّ عَلَى أُمَّتِي أَرْبَعَ فِتَن. At the end of time, there will be 4 major calamities. And in each one, he says what? الْأُولَى تُسْتَحِلُّ فِيهِ الدَّمَاء وَالثَّانِيَةَ تُسْتَحِلُّ فِي الدَّمَاء وَالْأَمْوَالِ. He says blood will be easily spilled. And in the second fitna, blood and wealth will easily be taken away. In a hadith from our 8th Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam. He says before the dhuhur, what will happen? He says, قَدَّامْ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ بُيُوحٌ. And so the person asked him that, what is this word buyuh? He says, قَتْلُ الدَّائِمْ لَا يَفْتَرْ. He said there will be constant and continuous killing, massacres and atrocity, continuous. It will never come to an end. People will reach a point where they're completely desensitized to killing and to massacres. Another hadith, the Imam says, هَذَا يَوْمْ يُبُوهُ. He says that what will happen at the end of time, الشَّدِيدُ الْحَرِّ, that there will be a disruption in the weather patterns. We'll have extreme weather, extreme cold and extreme heat. We faced a couple days ago extreme cold, and then we had, and then today was pretty warm, and we had high winds. At the end of times is marked by this, that there will be a fluctuation in the weather patterns. There will be ferocious, there will be devastating natural calamities which are inflicting death, damage, and destruction. At the end of times, there's going to be an emergence of new religions and new prophets. There will be people who are calling the people to themselves. They're calling themselves the Mahdi, or a prophet, or an apostle, or messenger from God. And so all of these things are meant to take us away from the path. In these times, we have to remain strong. We have to remain steadfast. The 4th Imam, he says, Ya Aba Khalid, لَتَأْتِيَنَّ فِتَن كَقِطَعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ. He says, at the end of times, the frequency and the speed in which these calamities and crises will happen is like how the night overtakes the day. All of a sudden, the night comes and the day goes away. He said a person will be immersed in these type of fitnas at this speed, One fitna ends, another one starts. One fitna ends, and another fitna starts. And these fitna that are there, they're individual, they're personal problems that we're facing, family problems, community, society. There'll be worldwide conflicts that are going to be happening. لا ينجو إلا من أخذ الله ميثاقا. And no one is saved except the one who Allah has taken a covenant from them. They are true, they are loyal to this covenant. They're true to this promise made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أُولَٰئِكَ مَصَابِيهُ الْحُدَى وَيَنَابِيُ الْعِلْمِ. He says that they are the lamps of guidance. When they speak, guidance comes from their mouth. When they walk to a place, light emanates from them. They are springs of knowledge. Who will be safe during this time? He says, وَذَلِكَ زَمَانٌ لَا يَنْجُ فِيهِ إِلَّا كُلُّ مُؤْمِنٍ نُوَمَهُ. In Nahj al-Balagha, Imam says, during this time of fitna, how should we be behaving? He says that no one will be saved except that a believing person is humble and quiet. They don't go and get involved in crises. They don't go and get involved in conflicts. They go do their work quietly and they come back. They keep a low profile. They do what they need to do and they leave. They don't make a ruckus. They don't call people towards themselves. There are individuals who are modest. There are individuals who remain unknown and unnoticed in society. In shahida lam yu'raf. If they come to a certain place, they're not recognized. When ghaba lam yuftaqad. And if they don't go, questions aren't asked, where is so-and-so? أُولَٰئِكَ مَصَابِيهُ الْحُدَى وَعَلَامُ السُّرَى. These are the lamps of guidance and the beacons in darkness. And then he continues that how do we safeguard our iman during the end of times? He says, لَيْسُوا بِالْمَسَايِحِ. He says these individuals, they have these qualities. They're neither flattering other people, nor are they loud in their speech. Sometimes there's people that when they enter into a gathering, they need to be the center of attention. As soon as they walk in, they want everyone to look at them. They make an appearance. Sheikh Sati just walked in. They keep a low profile. They don't want too much attention. They don't want people looking at them. They don't want too much, attention coming in their direction. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Sadi is not like that. He came in, he quietly sat in the back. But other people know they come in, they have to sit in the front of the gathering, keeping a low profile. The conversation always has to pivot around them. They always have to speak, and they always have to give their opinion. وَلَا مَذَايِئِ الْبُذْرِ. They don't foolishly and ignorantly go and expose secrets. There are certain matters which need to remain confidential. They don't expose them. They don't go and spread rumors. They don't circulate false information. They remain hidden and concealed. أُولَٰئِكَ يَفْتَحُ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابَ رَحْمَتِهِ. Imam says in Nahj al-Balagha, he says, for these people who possess these qualities at the end of time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up the doors of His mercy. وَيَكْشِفْ أَنْهُمْ ذَرَّاء نِقْمَتِهِ. And all of these hardships and conflicts and difficulties that come in their life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect them from these. So brothers and sisters, the times that we're living in are challenging times. But alongside these challenges, there's a great opportunity for us to reach some of the highest levels of faith and spirituality. Let us use these opportunities to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to place us among those who Allah safeguards and protects. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our knowledge and to increase us in piety. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the strength, for the resolve to safeguard our iman. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all of our good deeds and good actions in this month, fasting, our recitation of the Quran, our du'as, our adiyah, whatever good that we do, our sadaqat, our charity, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in this month, He grants us His forgiveness and clemency, and He places us among the followers and supporters of our final and 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu al-sharif. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Momini, just a minute. We're about to start dua iftitah. In a couple of minutes, let's all start settling down and let us recite a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajah.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين ولا الضالين. دعاء الافتتاح. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، واسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عند ما كان من خطئي وعمدي، أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك. فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أرى مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك عليه. يا رب إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي وتفضله علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضلك وإحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعدا فلا يرى وقربا فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعاضده. قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازيه. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم صل على أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة صلوات. اللهم صل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يسيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه، وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. اللهم المم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وأعزز به ذلتنا، وأغن به عائلنا، واقض به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وأنجح به طلبتنا، وأنجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، وأعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغ به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، وأعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشفي به صدورنا، وأذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق. آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله، وغيبة ولينا، وكثرة عدونا، وقلة عددنا، وشدة الفتن بنا، وتظاهر الزمان علينا. فصل على محمد وآله، وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله، وبضر تكشفه، ونصر تعزه، وسلطان حق تظهره، ورحمة منك تجللناها، وعافية منك تلبسناها، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. زيارة أهل البيت عليهم السلام. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وأصحاب الحسين. السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين: علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا أيها القائم يا مهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. والسلام عليكم جميعا يا أهل بيت النبوة ورحمة الله وبركاته.